Okay. Alrighty. Let's see. This is mostly set up. You can kind of see what I'm working on. Good. Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome back to Wednesday weaving. I have some things to tell you about what's going on with my weaving because I ended up having a couple of threads that broke. One broke because it had been joined and it had a knot in it, and I chose to warp it anyway because I thought the knot would hold. The knot did not. It did not. The knot did not hold. So as a result of that, I have now put in a new thread. I don't think you can see this. I actually put in two of them. Well, I'll move this forward and I'll show you. So let me release this and move it forward. Here, I actually have two threads that did this. Here are my two threads. So this one here, I just kind of knotted it and threw it in. And I'm going to pull that tight. There it is. Pull that tight and clip it off soon. Well, not soon, but once I get this finished. And then the other one is this one, which is this peachy pink one. I've been having issues with this one. And I finally gave up and tied it off. So that's what's going on there. Let's see, what else have I got going on? So that creates a couple of loose threads in the back. And I actually still have them just kind of like dangling in the back. And I've been doing something that you're not exactly supposed to do. But it's kind of been working. So I'll show you what I've been doing in order to hold my warp threads in place. But I did need to, I was at the point where I needed to advance. So just make sure everything looks good there. Now here is one of those loose threads. So you can clearly see it move right there. Boop, 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 boop. So what I've been doing, and I don't recommend this necessarily, is pulling it under and then wrapping it tight around my knobs because I have to advance anyway sometimes. So I've been doing that over here as well. So here's my loose one, and I'm just taking it kind of under and then up, making sure it's vaguely tight, and then just looping it right here. But I do have to undo those every time I go to advance my warp. So this is not ideal. What I really should have are some weights, and you can use things like fishing line weights are great for this because a lot of those just clip on. But I don't have any right now, so I guess I should order some because that would mean that I would have them and I could weigh it down. So anyway, that's kind of what's happening with the weaving. I did get more done, but I'm still clearly not finished. There's so much warp still. And it does make it more difficult because I don't have the yarn weighted in the back, and I have to keep unknotting that so that I can move it forward, or unwinding it. It's not really knotted, I just unwind it so I can move my warp forward. So anyway, that's what's going on there. I don't know. I've only got like this one and then maybe one more after that, I think. Oh man, I just put so much warp on this when I did it. Oh well. So anyway, we're going to talk about problems and how I'm fixing them kind of in my weaving today. But before we get into that, we should talk about, of course, your year of self-care. So hopefully you have been posting your year of self-care posts because, again, we don't have a ton of people playing, so it's pretty high odds of winning. And we've given out, I think 5 prizes so far, 2 in January, and then February, March, and April. We're almost through the end of May, so yeah, get those posts up. Make sure that you're tagging Black Sheep Fiber Emporium. I do have to announce the winners of the passports today for this little yarn crawl, so that still has to happen. I have been working diligently on slow yarn crawl. In fact, I spent like 2.5 hours this morning working on slow yarn crawl stuff. Ina woke me up early, so that's what I got started on. And we can also talk a little bit about some things that are coming up. We're going to have a big sale, a big clearance event, and we're also going to have deep discounts on a lot of our in-stock items because we are cutting back on our inventory a little bit, making everything a little more streamlined. So you can look forward to that. I think Tina's planning that for either June or July. As soon as we have more info, I'll tell you. What else do I have going on? Let's see, slow crawl and year of self-care, and yeah, I've been practicing my Mediterranean knotted lace. I'll show you guys more of that on Monday. And until then, I'm going to weave, and we're going to talk about weaving and warp and weft and selvages and all kinds of fun stuff. So to start with, I actually have a 10 dent reed in. That means that it's 10 ends per inch, which means that there are 10 threads per inch in my warp. There, warp. The warp, of course, is this. This is my warp. It's the threads that go up and down. My weft are the threads that go back and forth. And I'm using a stick shuttle today. In larger looms, floor looms, you'll often see boat shuttles because boat shuttles are easier to flop back and forth. But the stick shuttles work really well for wefts on your rigid heddle loom. I'm using a rigid heddle loom. That means that I don't have any foot treadles. It has a rigid heddle. This is my rigid heddle. It acts as both the beater and the heddle, so that means that for every thread that I put in, let me see where I am. No, I'm gonna go down. So for every thread that I put in, it means that I have to move my rigid heddle, oops, not quite ready for that, into position, and then beat forward like this. So we beat. And I've been trying to practice so that I am only beating once per throw, but you know, it doesn't always work out like that. And in order to have good selvages, it's really important that as you are putting your stick through, that you don't tighten your edges too much. So you actually have to move your yarn up at an angle. So that's what I'm doing, from side to side. So I leave a little loop. I don't know if you can see my little loop over here. I leave a little loop right here. Here's my little loop. And then I angle my thread before I beat, which is very important. If you don't do that, you get very ugly selvages. And I've done that, so I have a little experience. I can say that my selvages still are not as even as I would like them to be. My beating is not as good as I would like it to be. And part of that is, part of that is just me, because I'm not down here and I'm not weaving as much as I should be. The more that you practice, the better you get. The more that you can kind of feel where your yarn needs to be, so you know how big the loop needs to be, so that you are getting nice selvages. So I mean, practice does really make a difference for any of your crafts, not just weaving. Let's see, anybody have questions? Not just about weaving, I'll answer any questions. Today is just kind of a, oh my goodness, come on, get in there. There we go. It's really not that hard. I made it look really hard. It's not that hard to put your heddle back in. But I'm trying to talk to you guys and pay attention to you. That also makes my weaving not quite as nice if you aren't paying attention to what you're doing. But I think that's true of most crafts. If you aren't paying attention to what you're doing. Okay, so does anybody have questions about weaving or what I'm doing? Or, like, I only have one heddle. There are patterns that you can do with more than one heddle on the rigid heddle loom, and we will be exploring those just as soon as I get this never-ending warp off my loom. But right now I'm just plain weaving. So plain weaving means that I just have an up shed, which is what this one is, and a down shed. That's what that one is. And I move my stick back and forth in my up, down, and it just weaves a very plain cloth. And plain cloth is great. You can do a lot with plain cloth for texture with, you know, different yarns in the warp and the weft, and color, like we've done with our stripe pattern here. Hi, Angelus. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with plain weave fabric. And, you know, most of our fabric that we wear is either plain weave or knit. And then it's been dyed, so it has, you know, pretty patterning on it. And that's fine. But you can make many hundreds, if not thousands, I'm going to say thousands, probably thousands of weaving patterns. A lot of them you can make with a rigid heddle, not all of them, but a lot of them you can make with a rigid heddle. But you can make a lot of patterns in your weaving if you have more shafts and more harnesses. This is a heddle, but it could be a harness on a larger machine. That's what you'd call it. And you can make some really lovely patterning in your fabric if you have more harnesses to work with and more treadles to work with. But plain weave is practical and useful, and it's been made for thousands of years. So I don't mind making a little bit of plain weave myself. And I do like how my stripes are turning out. I have woven on this only twice since I talked to you guys. But I was trying to get it finished so that we could talk about hemming and edges and blah, blah, blah. But it just seems like this is really, it's honestly, it's the never ending warp. It just goes on and on and on. So that's what I do. So I just weave some plain weave on this warp on and on and on and on. And I'm already like 2/3 of the way through another ball of yarn because, again, on and on and on and on and on. So it is what it is. Yeah, that'll reach across. So I've got one more. I'll tighten this a minute there. One more throw off of this stick shuttle. And then, as we've talked about many times now, you always put your ends in on opposite sides. So I've opened an up shed, and I'm going to put my tail in over here, and I'm going to go ahead and just trim this down a little because we don't need quite that much thread. I don't trim it all the way down. You never want to trim it all the way down until you're completely finished weaving. And actually, I like to even leave a little bit of a tail until I've washed something and then finish trimming that. And I actually do that with my knitting as well. I think it's really important that you leave those tails out so that it allows the tail to move in the fabric when you get it wet, because your yarn and your fabric does wiggle quite a bit when you get it wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my tail in on this side now. So I finished on my left and I'm starting on my right. It's very important that you don't always start and end on the same side, because that will build up on whichever side you've chosen, and then it makes your weaving look bad because it's built up on one side, so it has more fabric on one side than the other. And I don't think that I'm supposed to be putting my stick shuttle in front of my chest like this, like I do. But this is what's comfortable for me, so this is part of what I do to keep my stick shuttle in place as I am weaving my plain weave. So anyway, another thing that's really important is that you have to have nice, clear, open sheds. The shed is the space that opens between your threads when you have your up and your down You have your up and your down patterning for plain weave. It's whatever the space is that opens between your threads, no matter what patterning you are doing. So it's really important to have a nice open shed, because if you don't, what happens is you end up catching threads, which can be good if you're trying to make a pattern. It can be intentional, but it can mean that you end up with skipped threads in your warp or your weft. So we do try to avoid that. And my shed is not as open as it used to be because I have those two broken threads that I have wound to the side instead of weighting, because they really needed to be weighted, but I don't have the weights. So I improvised because I'm trying to get this thing done so that we can do something else on this loom, man. I mean, not that this isn't pretty, but I've been weaving on this forever now. It's only my second project on this loom and it just won't end. I was over ambitious when I put my warp on. And originally I had intended to make this into some kind of shawl or wrap. Once I get it off the loom, then it may not end up being a shawl or a wrap. I might turn this into toweling of some sort. I do have to say, I think that the Mian cotton would probably be better on a 12 dent heddle instead of the 10 that I chose. I don't think the fabric is bad, but I do think I would have liked it better if I had used a 12 instead of the 10. So just throwing that out there. If you like to weave and you are looking for a gorgeous fingering weight cotton that is, I think, pretty reasonably priced, but I don't know what you'll think. This Mian fingering weight, it's really nice stuff. It's really nice stuff. It's great knit, crochet, weaving, wonderful stuff. I've made some super cute like baby sweaters out of this stuff, and a couple of pretty cute adult sweaters. Now, as I get towards my rigid heddle, it's my reed and my heddle at the same time. My space that allows me to weave is going to get smaller and smaller. So I'm getting to the point where I will have to advance this forward again. And that's not a very pretty selvage. Oh well. This is all practice. And when I advance forward, because I have those two broken threads, which I'll show you again here in a minute, I will have to unwind my two broken threads so that I can advance my warp. And that just means that we move it forward. There's a ratchet and pawl system on this one. This is the Kromsky. This is the Harp Forte 32-inch rigid heddle loom. And why can't I grab this? There we go. I do quite like the Harp Forte. I like the metal ratchets and metal pawls. That makes a big difference for me in the advancement and in being able to keep my warp a little bit tighter. And it's probably just a touch loose right now, but that's all right. Part of that's because I'm talking to you guys, and that's just sort of what happens. But I really like the loom. I like the setup. I have kept my loom at a little flatter angle. I could probably drop it a little bit, but I've discovered that when I'm just kind of weaving on my own, that it's comfortable for me to kind of pull my loom up towards my belly, and then I put my feet on the bar on the bottom of the stand, and it's comfortable for me. So that's how I've been weaving when I do get down here to weave. But what can I say? Slow yarn crawl has taken up a ton of my time. So, and I do actually have to get back to more slow crawl stuff. So as soon as we're done with our video today, that's what I will be doing. I hope the 330 is working out for everyone. I think that I'm going to stick with 330 for my videos from now on, just because Ina just really doesn't seem to want to sleep before about 3 in the afternoon, even when she gets up early. So in order to have a little Ina-free video time, I think it's going to be probably 3:30 from now on Central when I do my videos. So, all right. I will advance forward and then we'll talk a little more, and then I will let you guys go because I mean, I'm not doing anything super entertaining, and nobody's really asking questions. So anyway, let me show you what I have. Pick this up. I'll just turn it back around. All right. So here's my loom. Here's what I'm working on. Here was my tail and my other tail. And here you can see that I didn't beat as well as I should have. So I've got this little line. I'm hoping some of this will come out in the wash. See, I have some errors over here, and I have too much draw in right here and not quite enough on those little loops. So it's finding the happy medium, which I haven't been doing as much of. And then here is one of those broken threads. So I'm actually going to unwind this. And again, it would be much better if I had a weight for that thread so I could weight it down behind. And I actually just still have it attached to the ball, which again, I probably shouldn't do, but you know, sometimes beggars can't be choosers. So this is the other one. So I ended up with those 2 broken threads. And now I have to advance. So in order to advance, I always loosen, hope that this holds, loosen the front pawl by 1. And then pop the back pawl, and then you take the knob and we ratchet forward. Okay, and clearly we need more. So loosen the back. And then I always try to make sure they don't pull it too far forward, because then your heddle, when it goes to beat, can smack into this, and that's not good. But it looks like I can bring it a little further forward. Looking good. And look, I am getting close. This is almost ready to fall out. It's not quite there. I can't really advance this any further forward. And it feels pretty tight. So we're going to leave that alone. All right, so that is how I advance forward. And then again, because I have, you know, this one. So here's the broken thread, actually. Here's the broken end. And this was a knot that came undone. It's actually a knot that was in the ball of yarn itself, which I thought would hold, but I was wrong. So here's the replacement thread. And again, I'm just going to do something that I probably shouldn't be doing and give it a little tension over here. That's not ideal. I should have a weight for that, but I don't. And then here's the other one. Bring it up and wrap it there. And again, not ideal. Definitely not ideal. So I am going to keep, you know, working on slow crawl stuff and hoping that I can finally get this done so that we can talk about edgings and endings and hemming and all that fun stuff. Because I've got a lot of fabric here. So I don't know. I had not intended to make towels out of this, but it would make a really nice towel. So, or 2, or maybe 3, because I don't even remember how much I wound on now. I have a note somewhere. So anyway, that's my plan. Let's see, next week, oh, there we go. Next week, what's going on next week? We did tatting. What did I say we were doing next Monday? I don't remember. I think we're doing more Mediterranean knotted lace. Oh, and look, I actually have my Year of Self-Care mug. It says just stitch it. There's my Year of Self-Care mug. I don't recall. What are we doing? Knotted lace? We did tatting this week, so it won't be tatting. So I'm going to say it's Mediterranean knotted lace. And then we're going to do some knitted lace, because Mondays is kind of lace for a while. So I'll get those events up. Hopefully tonight I have to work on a little more slow crawl stuff. And I'm hoping that then the slow crawl will be ready to go. Cross your fingers for me. I'd really like it to be ready to go. Because, you know, it's only 2 people that do the slow crawl. And it's me and Tina. We kind of we run the whole thing. We spearhead the whole thing. And, you know, we don't have a committee. We don't have anybody else. It's just the two of us running the whole thing. It's not a democracy. It's, I don't know, what do you call two people running it together? Whatever that is. Anyway, so yeah, still working on that. Anyway, and then Wednesdays, remember, we're going to start rotating between weaving and spinning and sewing. And the sewing will either be sewing the sewing machine or it'll be hand embroidery, one of the two. So that's the sewing, that you can look forward to on Wednesdays. So we're gonna start rotating Wednesdays and Mondays. But again, if there's something that you want me to teach, just pop me a message and I will do my best and we'll rotate it in somewhere that it fits. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, at least for next month. We're gonna try it out, see how it works. And again, try 3:30 instead of 3 o'clock Central. So that's 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, and 1:30 Pacific time, PM. We're gonna try that out, see how it works, and hopefully it goes really well, at least until Ina changes up her nap time again. And for anybody who is in the Midwest, I will be vending at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, June, 4th and 5th in Franklin, Indiana. So maybe I will see you there. You can also catch me at the Ozark Fiber Fling this fall. That is still on. It's usually the first week of November. I think it's the first week in November. And it's usually like that Friday, Saturday, first weekend in November. So that's in the works. And yeah. All right, guys, until next week, do please take care of yourself. Mentally, physically, emotionally, craftually. Make sure that you're doing a little bit of that crafting every day. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week when I go live. So join me. Remember, even if you missed the live broadcast, you can always catch it again on YouTube. I do try to put all the videos up on YouTube. Ooh, I think I need to put up Mondays. Pretty sure I need to put up Mondays. Try to put all the videos up on YouTube so you can always go catch them there. Make sure that you have followed our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our Instagram channel, and our TikTok channel so that you always get the latest information. We do send out newsletters once or twice a month as well, so you can always join our newsletter list in addition. So lots of ways that you can find us and reach us. And anyway, until next Monday, take care of yourself, and I'll see you then. Bye.